The bright dots of stars filled the large screen in Earth Command Center. Officer Peter Wright stared at them with tired eyes. 11 years had gone by since the Mankin ship had left Earth. 11 years since all contact was lost. Most people thought the ship and its crew were gone forever. Peter took a sip of his cold coffee and checked the screens again. Nothing unusual showed on the space radar. It was just another quiet night shift. Then a small red dot appeared on the edge of the screen. Peter leaned forward, suddenly awake. The dot was moving fast, too fast for any normal ship. He pressed the alert button. "Command, this is Monitoring Station 7. We have an unknown object entering the solar system." Admiral George Bennett was sleeping when his comm unit buzzed. He reached for it with an annoyed grunt. "This better be important," he said. "Sir, we have a situation. An object is approaching Earth at speeds we've never recorded before. It's massive, sir." The Admiral was fully awake now. "Have you sent out warning signals?" "Yes, sir." "No response yet. I'm on my way." By the time Admiral Bennett reached the command center, 6 other high-ranking officers were already there. The large screen showed the object, now clearly visible, as it passed Mars. "What do we know about it?" Bennett asked. Colonel Susan Ward pointed to the data scrolling on a side screen. "It's slowing down now, but it was moving at speeds we thought impossible. The size matches, well, it matches the Mankind ship, sir. But that's not possible." The Mankind ship had been Earth's pride, the largest vessel ever built, carrying 1,500 crew members on humanity's first mission to explore beyond our solar system. When it disappeared, it took humanity's greatest dreams with it. Bennett frowned. "It can't be the Mankind. Must be an alien vessel." "Sir." A young communications officer named Samantha Powell jumped from her seat. "We're receiving a transmission." The room went silent. "Put it through," Bennett ordered. Static filled the speakers, then cleared. A man's voice came through, sounding strangely calm. "Earth Command, this is Captain Eric Davis of the Mankind. We've returned. We're different now, and we bring urgent warning." Everyone in the room froze. Captain Davis had been presumed dead for 11 years. "This is Admiral George Bennett. Identify yourself properly and explain your absence." "Admiral, I understand your caution. 11 years have passed for you. For us, time worked differently where we went. We have proof of our identity and critical information to share. Request: permission to dock at Lunar Base Alpha. Our crew needs time to readjust to Earth gravity." Bennett signaled for the transmission to be muted. "Opinions?" "It could be a trick," Colonel Ward said. "An alien trap." "Or it could really be them," Peter offered. "The ship's signature matches our records." Bennett unmuted the comm. "Captain Davis, we need visual confirmation." "Understood. Sending now." The main screen changed to show a man in a uniform. He looked like Captain Davis, but there were differences. His eyes had a strange glow to them. Thin silver lines ran along his temples and neck, like circuits under his skin. "As you can see, Admiral, we have changed. All of us have. It was necessary for survival." Bennett studied the image closely. "What happened to your ship?" "Our scans show it's much larger than when it left." The captain nodded. "The ship evolved with us. Admiral, I know you have 1,000 questions. So did we when it first happened. But right now, there's something more important. Something is coming toward Earth. Something that destroys entire galaxies. We've seen it, we barely escaped it, and now it knows about Earth." The room erupted in worried voices. Bennett called for silence. "I'm dispatching a security team to Lunar Base Alpha. You'll dock there and remain in quarantine until we verify your identity and story." "Understood, Admiral. Thank you." As the transmission ended, Bennett turned to his officers. "I want our best scientists and security personnel at that base. If this is really the Mankind crew, I want to know what happened to them. And if there's really a threat coming, we need to know everything about it." 2 days later, a small shuttle from Earth approached Lunar Base Alpha. Inside were Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's leading expert in biology, and a team of scientists and security personnel. Through the shuttle window, they could see the Mankind ship in lunar orbit. The ship looked wrong. The basic shape was the same. but the hull now gleamed with a strange metal that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. Geometric patterns covered the surface, glowing with soft blue light. Most shocking was the size. The ship was now almost 3 times larger than when it left Earth. "That's impossible," whispered Dr. Martinez. "No ship could change like that." The shuttle captain shrugged. "Nothing about this situation makes sense, Doc." At the lunar base, Captain Davis and 5 crew members waited in the quarantine area. Like Davis, they all had the same strange silver lines on their skin and an unusual glow in their eyes. They stood too still, their movements too perfect when they did move. Dr. Martinez approached the clear barrier separating them. "Captain Davis, I'm Dr. Olivia Martinez. I've been asked to examine you and your crew." Davis smiled. It looked genuine, but something about it was off. "Of course, Doctor. We expected this. Before we begin, can you tell me what happened? Where have you been for 11 years? Davis looked at his crew members, then back to Martinez. "We encountered a spatial anomaly near our first planned stop. It threw us millions of light years off course into a galaxy you haven't even named yet. There we found the remains of dozens of dead civilizations, all killed by the same thing, something the survivors called the Devourer." Martinez frowned. "The Devourer?" "A cosmic entity that consumes everything, stars, planets, even space itself. It's ancient and massive, and now it's coming here." "And the changes to your crew and ship?" Davis's expression grew solemn. "We met the Luminari, the last survivors of an ancient race. They helped us, changed us so we could survive and return to worn Earth. The process altered our biology, merged it with their technology. The ship underwent the same transformation." Martinez made notes on her tablet. "And these changes, what can you do now that you couldn't before?" Instead of answering, Davis raised his hand. The skin split open painlessly, revealing complex structures underneath, part organic, part machine. Small lights pulsed along what should have been bones. "We are still human, Dr. Martinez. We still feel love, hope, and fear. But we're also more. And Earth will need us to be more if we're going to survive what's coming." Martinez fought to keep her professional composure. "How long do we have?" 6 months, maybe less. The Devourer sensed us when we escaped. It found us interesting, different, a challenge perhaps. And now it's following our path straight to Earth." A cold feeling settled in Martinez's stomach as she looked at these changed humans. They were Earth's prodigal children, returned not just with a warning, but as the first line of defense against something beyond imagination. "Tell me everything," she said. "Don't leave anything out." Dr. Olivia Martinez watched through thick glass as Captain Eric Davis lifted a metal cube that should have been too heavy for one person. His muscles didn't strain. The silver lines along his arms glowed slightly as he placed it down with perfect control. "The changes are not just on the surface," Davis explained. "Every cell in our bodies has been enhanced. We are stronger, faster, and we heal quickly." It had been 1 week since the Mankind crew entered quarantine at Lunar Base Alpha. Each day brought new surprises for the Earth scientists studying them. "Can you show me the communication ability again?" Dr. Martinez asked, making notes on her tablet. Davis nodded at crew member Steve Miller across the room. They didn't speak or gesture, but Miller immediately walked to a different table and picked up exactly what Davis wanted: a small water cup. "We can share thoughts directly," Davis said. "All 1,500 crew members are connected this way. It saved us many times during our journey." Admiral Bennett watched from the corner, his face stern. "You still haven't explained where exactly you went or how your ship grew to 3 times its size." Davis sat down. His movements were too smooth, reminding everyone he was no longer fully human. "After the spatial anomaly threw us off course, we found ourselves in a galaxy billions of light years from Earth. We saw the remains of planets torn apart, stars drained of energy. Then we encountered survivors, beings called the Luminari." The room grew quiet as Davis continued. "The Luminari were the last of their kind. They told us about the Devourer, an entity that moves through space consuming everything. not like a black hole that simply pulls things in. This thing feeds on energy, matter, even what the Luminari called dimensional fabric. It had destroyed thousands of worlds over millions of years. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. And these Luminari, they changed you? They gave us a choice, Davis said. They had technology far beyond ours, developed over countless generations as they tried to fight the Devourer. They couldn't save themselves, but they could pass on what they learned. We could remain as we were and certainly die, or accept their help and have a chance. You chose for everyone? Admiral Bennett asked sharply. No. Each crew member decided, individually. All chose survival. Davis stood up and walked to the glass wall. The process merged Luminari biotechnology with our bodies. The ship underwent a similar transformation. Dr. Martinez's scientific curiosity overrode her fear. How does the ship's transformation work? The mankind is partly organic now. It can repair itself, adapt to threats, and travel in ways that defy your current understanding of physics. It carries the combined knowledge of dozens of civilizations the Luminary had contact with. Admiral Bennett crossed his arms. Convenient that we can't verify any of this. Davis smiled sadly. You'll have your proof soon enough, Admiral. The Devourer sensed us when we escaped. It doesn't usually chase small prey, but our enhanced state interested it. Now it's following our path to Earth. Later that day, in a secure conference room on Earth, Admiral Bennett met with world leaders and top scientists. Dr. Martinez presented her findings. The changes to the mankind crew are real. Their DNA has been altered in ways we don't fully understand, but they are still fundamentally human. The president of the North American Union frowned. Can we trust them? Could they be controlled by these aliens? Dr. Martinez shook her head. All evidence suggests they retain their free will and loyalty to Earth. Captain Davis has provided detailed scans of the Devourer's approach. Our astronomers have confirmed disturbances at the edge of our solar system that match his description. On screen, images appeared showing dark ripples spreading across space, distorting the light of distant stars. What exactly are we dealing with? Asked the Chinese representative. Dr. Martinez pulled up a simulation based on the mankind crew's data. It showed a massive swirling darkness larger than Earth's sun. The Devourer exists partly in our dimension, and partly in others we can't perceive. It feeds by breaking down matter and energy at the subatomic level. According to Captain Davis, it has consumed entire galaxies over its lifetime, which may span billions of years. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What can we do against such a thing? Someone finally asked. The mankind crew believes they can help, Dr. Martinez said. Their ship carries weapons and defense systems based on Luminari technology. They've offered to share everything they know. The next day, a team of scientists boarded the transformed mankind ship with special permission. Dr. Martinez led the group, accompanied by Admiral Bennett and security officers. Inside, the ship looked nothing like Earth vessels. The walls seemed alive, with patterns of light flowing through surfaces that were neither metal nor plastic. The air felt charged with energy. The ship responds to our thoughts, Davis explained as he led them through corridors that seemed to expand and contract. It can reconfigure itself based on need. They entered a vast chamber that Davis called the memory core. At its center floated a glowing sphere the size of a car. This contains all the Luminary knowledge transferred to us, including everything known about the Devourer. Dr. Martinez approached the sphere. May I? Davis nodded. Place your hand on it. When she touched the sphere, images flooded her mind. Star systems being devoured, civilizations fleeing across space, and strange technologies beyond human understanding. Amazing, she whispered as she pulled away. But there's so much information. How can we possibly learn enough in time? That's why we're here, said a voice behind them. A woman stepped forward from the ship's crew. She had the same silver lines on her skin as the others. I'm Laura Wilson, ship's science officer. Before Earth, I studied xenobiology. Now I understand concepts it would take your scientists decades to grasp. Admiral Bennett looked suspicious. You're offering to just give us this technology? Of course, Laura said. Earth is our home. And we need your help too. The ship can't fight the Devourer alone. We need Earth's resources, manufacturing capabilities, and most importantly, fresh perspectives. The Luminari fought this thing for centuries and failed. Humanity needs to find a new approach. Later, as they prepared to return to the lunar base, Dr. Martinez pulled Captain Davis aside. "There's something you haven't told us. Something about your crew's abilities." Davis nodded slowly. "Some of us have developed unexpected capabilities, beyond the enhancements the Luminary intended." "Like what?" she asked. Instead of answering, Davis held out his hand. Above his palm, tiny motes of light formed into a perfect model of the solar system. With a thought, he zoomed in on Earth, showing exact details of continents and oceans. "We're still discovering what we can do," he said quietly. "And we don't know what it means for our future. But right now, all that matters is stopping what's coming." As Dr. Martinez boarded the shuttle back to the lunar base, she looked out at the strange ship that had once been humanity's greatest achievement. It had returned transformed, just like its crew. The question now was whether these changes would be enough to save Earth from what followed them home. News of the mankind's return spread across Earth like wildfire. People gathered in streets, homes, and public squares to watch screens showing the changed ship orbiting the moon. Some celebrated the return of those long thought dead. Others feared what they had become. General Frank Sullivan watched the crowds from his office window at the North American Defense Headquarters. He did not share in the excitement. 20 years in military service had taught him to be careful about things that seemed too good to be true. "They're not human anymore," he said to his aide. "Not really." "But sir, the tests confirm they still have human DNA," the young officer replied. Sullivan turned away from the window. "Enhanced with alien technology we don't understand. How convenient. They return just before this Devourer arrives, almost like they're setting the stage." At Lunar Base Alpha, Captain Eric Davis met with Admiral Bennett and Dr. Martinez. They sat in a conference room with screens showing data about the approaching threat. "The first signs are already visible," Davis said, pointing to images of strange darkness spreading between stars at the edge of the solar system. "The Devourer moves slowly at first, sending out what you might call scouts." "How long do we have?" Bennett asked. 4 months until it reaches the outer planets. 6 until it reaches Earth." The Admiral looked grim. "Not much time to prepare for something we barely understand." Davis leaned forward. "That's why we need to start working together now. My crew has knowledge that can help Earth defend itself." "And what exactly do you propose?" Bennett asked. "We can't destroy the Devourer. It's too vast and exists partially, in dimensions we can't access. But we can redirect it." Davis touched the screen, bringing up a new image. "We need to build a network of gravity wells and modified versions of our ship's propulsion system. Essentially, we'll create a path of least resistance that leads away from Earth." Dr. Martinez studied the plans. "This would require global cooperation on a scale we've never managed before." "Then it's time we learned," Davis said simply. Over the next weeks, a small number of the Mankind crew were allowed to visit Earth under strict security. They began working with scientists and engineers to adapt luminary technology for Earth's use. Not everyone welcomed them. Protests formed outside research facilities. Religious groups declared them no longer human. Military leaders in several countries demanded they be contained. On a rainy Tuesday, Navigation Officer Linda Peterson stood before a group of skeptical engineers at the European Space Agency headquarters. Her silver-lined skin gleamed under the bright lights as she explained modifications to Earth's satellite network. "These changes will create an early warning system," she said. "It will give us precise data on the Devourer's movements." One engineer raised his hand. "This requires completely rebuilding our orbital platforms. How do we know this isn't just a way for you to sabotage our defense systems?" Before Linda could answer, alarms blared. Security guards rushed into the room. "Everyone, stay calm," the lead guard said. "We have an intruder in the building." Suddenly, Linda went still. Her eyes flashed bright blue. "He's coming here, with a weapon." "How could you possibly know that?" the guard asked. The door burst open. A man with wild eyes pointed a gun at Linda. "Alien spy," he screamed. Everything happened in seconds. Linda moved with impossible speed, placing herself between the attacker and the engineers. The man fired 3 times. The bullets hit Linda in the chest. She fell to the ground as guards tackled the shooter. The engineers stared, in horror. Then to their shock, Linda groaned and sat up. Blood soaked her shirt, but as they watched, the wounds began to close. Silver lines spread across her skin, knitting the damaged tissue together. "Are you all okay?" she asked, looking at the stunned engineers. News of the incident spread worldwide. Video of Linda's injuries healing played on repeat on all channels. It was undeniable proof that the Mankin crew had changed in ways beyond normal human ability. Public opinion shifted. Many now saw the crew as potential saviors. Others feared them even more. In Washington, General Sullivan met with government officials. "This incident proves they're dangerous," he argued. "This Peterson woman knew the attack was coming before it happened. She has abilities we don't understand. She also chose to protect civilians with her own body," countered Dr. Martinez, who had been called to the meeting. "That seems pretty human to me." At a separate facility, engineer John Russell worked closely with Mankind crew member Kevin Hughes. They were adapting Earth's defense satellites with new technology. "I still don't understand how this works," Russell admitted, looking at the strange device Hughes had built. Hughes smiled. "Think of it as teaching the satellite a new language, one that can detect ripples in space before they're visible to normal instruments." Russell studied the other man. "Do you miss it, being fully human?" Hughes was quiet for a moment. "We are still human where it counts. We feel, we hope, we love." He tapped his chest. "But I won't lie to you. Sometimes I look in the mirror and wonder who I've become." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call. The modified satellites had detected something. The first physical tendrils of the Devourer had entered the solar system, moving faster than predicted. That evening, Captain Davis and Admiral Bennett addressed the United Nations Space Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from every nation. "The threat is real and approaching rapidly," Bennett began. "We've verified the Mankind crew's information independently. This Devourer entity has already begun to affect our outer system monitoring stations." Davis stepped forward. "We propose a unified defense plan." He outlined the strategy to redirect the cosmic entity using gravity manipulation. "It will require resources from all nations and full cooperation with my crew." "And if we refuse?" asked the representative from Russia. "Then humanity faces this alone," Davis said quietly. "And based on the history of dozens of extinct civilizations the Luminari recorded, you will fail." A murmur ran through the chamber. The head of the council spoke. "We will put it to a vote." As the world's leaders debated, something strange happened. People around the globe reported the same dream: endless darkness, bitter cold, and a hunger that could never be satisfied. Dr. Martinez reported this phenomenon to Captain Davis. "Is this connected to the Devourer?" Davis nodded grimly. "It's beginning to reach across dimensions, touching minds before it arrives physically. The dreams will get worse. The Devourer is coming, and it's coming faster than we expected." Dawn broke over the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Engineers and scientists had worked through the night. Sleep was becoming rare as the Devourer approached. It had been 2 months since the Mankin's return, and Earth was changing. Giant construction. Platforms orbited the planet, building machines based on Luminari designs. Ships from every nation worked together, setting up the network of gravity devices that might save them all. Inside the main control room, John Russell rubbed his tired eyes as he studied the data from the outer system. The strange darkness had now completely engulfed Pluto. The dwarf planet still existed physically, but all signals from it had stopped. It was as if that part of space had been cut off from the rest of the universe. "It's moving faster than we predicted," Kevin Hughes said, looking over Russell's shoulder. The silver lines on Hughes's face pulsed with faint light. The Devourer is learning, adapting. A young woman entered the room, escorted by Dr. Martinez. She was small for her age, with dark curly hair and serious eyes. "This is Amy Collins," Martinez said. "She's 12 years old and has been having unusually clear visions of the Devourer." Russell looked confused. "What can a child tell us that our instruments can't?" Dr. Martinez smiled. "Amy has an unusual mind. Her brain processes patterns differently than most people. Show them, Amy." The girl stepped forward and pointed to the screen showing the Devourer's approach. "It's not just coming from one direction. See these spots?" She pointed to seemingly normal areas of space. "It's already there too, just hiding." Hughes looked closer at the data. His enhanced eyes widened. "She's right. There are tiny fluctuations in those regions. How did we miss this?" "Because you're looking with normal eyes," Amy said simply. "But I see things differently. Always have." Captain Davis was called in. He studied Amy's findings with growing concern. "The Devourer is more strategic than we thought. It's surrounding us before the final approach." Amy nodded. "It's like a net closing, but there's something else." She closed her eyes for a moment. "It has to stay connected across all the places it exists. That's its weakness." Captain Davis looked at the girl with new interest. "You can sense its structure?" "In my dreams," she said. "It's huge but has to keep itself together to eat properly." She struggled to find the right words, like if your left hand and right hand had to stay linked to work. Davis turned to Dr. Martinez. "The luminary records mention this. The Devourer exists across multiple dimensions and needs to maintain coherence to feed effectively. No one has ever found a way to exploit this weakness before. Maybe they never had Amy," Martinez said. While they worked on a new defense plan based on Amy's insights, the first major attack came. The Devourer's advanced tendrils reached Saturn. Within hours, the beautiful rings began to dissolve. Watching through telescopes, astronomers saw the particles simply vanish, as if being erased from reality. Earth's combined space fleet had positioned a defense line around Jupiter, humanity's last outer barrier. The Mankind ship led the formation, now joined by 20 of Earth's largest vessels, all upgraded with luminary technology. Inside the Mankind's command center, Captain Davis received the news about Saturn. "It's happening too fast," he said to his senior officers. "We're not ready." Linda Peterson, now fully recovered from the shooting, reviewed the tactical display. "The defense network is only at 60% completion. We need more time." Davis made a difficult decision. "Send most of our crew back to Earth, keep only essential personnel aboard." "Sir?" Linda questioned. "If we fail here, Earth will need our knowledge. The enhanced crew might be humanity's last hope." The evacuation began immediately. Transport. Ships carried most of the Mankind crew back to Earth, leaving only 50 aboard with Captain Davis. As the Devourer approached Jupiter, strange effects rippled through the solar system. Radio signals became distorted. The sun's output fluctuated in ways scientists couldn't explain, and the dreams grew worse. People everywhere woke screaming from visions of endless hunger and cold. At the Johnson Space Center, Amy Collins worked with Kevin Hughes and John Russell. Her unique perspective had helped them identify a new approach. "Instead of creating many small gravity wells," Russell explained to the command team, "we build one massive distortion using Jupiter itself, essentially turning the whole planet into a slingshot." General Sullivan, who had reluctantly joined the unified command, looked skeptical. "Could that tear Jupiter apart?" "Possibly," Hughes admitted, "but it might be our only option now. The Devourer is moving too quickly for our original plan." The plan was approved. All available resources were directed to modifying the equipment around Jupiter. The Mankind ship would power the initial gravity pulse, using its advanced engines, to start the chain reaction. Captain Davis stood on the bridge of his transformed vessel, looking at Jupiter's massive form on the view screen. Behind it, space itself seemed to darken as the Devourer approached. All ships in position, Linda reported. Earth fleet standing by. Davis took a deep breath. Begin power sequence. The Mankin ship's engines glowed with intense light. Energy. Patterns flowed across its hull as it channeled power, unlike anything humans had built before. The gravity devices around Jupiter activated in sequence, creating a web of distorted spacetime. Then disaster struck. 3 Earth vessels were caught in unexpected gravity waves and crushed. The Devourer accelerated, sensing the threat, portions of its vast form rushing toward them faster than predicted. Power overload in sectors 7 through 12, called an officer. The ship can't maintain this output. Davis made the call no captain wants to make. Evacuate all Earth vessels. Fall back beyond Mars. We'll hold here as long as possible. Sir, if we stay, Linda began. I know, Davis said quietly. Launch the escape pods with all non-essential crew. As most of the remaining crew left in pods, Davis and 10 volunteers stayed behind. The Mankind ship trembled as its power systems strained beyond design limits. On Earth, millions watched through the enhanced satellite network. They saw Jupiter begin to change as the gravity manipulations increased. Its clouds swirled in new patterns, its very structure straining. At the Johnson Space Center, Amy Collins suddenly gasped. I can see it clearly now, she whispered. Everyone turned to her. The Devourer, it's not evil, it doesn't hate us, it's just hungry. So hungry, all the time. Kevin Hughes looked at the screens. Could we communicate with it somehow? The Luminary never tried that approach. As they discussed this possibility, the Mankind ship made its final stand at Jupiter. The view screen showed the true form of the Devourer for the first time. A swirling vortex of darkness shot through with captured light. A paradox of emptiness and fullness. Captain Davis looked at it without fear. Bring engines to maximum output. Let's show this thing what humanity can do. The Mankind ship shuddered as its engines pushed beyond their limits. Captain Davis gripped his command chair as the vessel positioned itself between Jupiter and the approaching darkness. The Devourer stretched across space like a storm of cosmic proportions, swallowing light and matter in its path. Main power at 120%, Linda Peterson reported. Hull integrity failing in sections 20 through 35. Davis nodded. Reroute all available power to the gravity manipulation systems. We need to hold until the reaction begins in Jupiter's core. Around them, the ship groaned under the strain. The partially organic hull began to change, responding to the desperate need of its crew. Patterns of light flowed across its surface as it drew on its final reserves. On Earth, scientists and military personnel watched in tense silence. The enhanced crew members who had returned from the Mankind ship joined their minds in an unprecedented psychic network. They used their luminary-derived abilities to shield the minds of those most vulnerable to the Devourer's influence. At the Johnson Space Center, Amy Collins sat with Kevin Hughes and John Russell. Her eyes were closed in concentration as she sensed the distant battle. Something's changing, she whispered. The ship, it's doing something new. At Jupiter, the Mankind ship's transformation accelerated. Its hull became almost transparent, then shifted to something beyond physical form. Energy patterns danced across its surface as it tapped into forces the Luminari had only begun to understand. Captain, Linda said in awe, the ship is responding to our collective will. It's evolving again. Davis felt it too, a strange connection to the vessel itself, as if it had become an extension of their combined consciousness. Through this link, he sensed something unexpected about the Devourer. It's not just destroying, he said slowly. It's communicating, in its own way. The ship's sensors, now operating beyond their original design, detected patterns in the cosmic entity's behavior. It wasn't just consuming mindlessly. There was purpose to its movements, a strange form of intelligence. Adjust our approach, Davis ordered. We're not going to just redirect it. We're going to try to communicate. The ship's systems reconfigured themselves. Instead of simply pushing against the Devourer with gravity wells, the Mankind began to pulse with rhythmic energy, patterns creating a primitive form of language. On Earth, Amy suddenly sat up straight. "I can hear it," she exclaimed. "In my mind, I can hear what they're saying to it." "What are they saying?" Dr. Martinez asked. "They're showing it another way, teaching it that it doesn't have to destroy everything it touches." Amy's voice was filled with wonder. "They're offering it something new." Near Jupiter, the mankind ship had completely transformed. It now existed in a state between matter and energy, a bridge between dimensions. Through this impossible connection, Captain Davis and his crew reached out to the cosmic entity. They showed it memories of Earth, of growth and renewal, of cycles that continued without complete destruction. They offered an alternative to its endless consumption, a balance that could sustain both it and the worlds it encountered. The Devourer's approach slowed. Its vast form paused at the edge of Jupiter's orbit. For the first time in millions of years, the cosmic entity hesitated. "It's listening," Linda whispered. The ship pushed harder, its systems burning out as it maintained the connection. Davis felt his consciousness expanding beyond the ship, becoming part of the dialogue with the ancient force. "Show it everything," he told his crew. "Show it what humanity is." They poured their memories and hopes into the connection. The joy of creation, the beauty of art, the wonder of discovery. They showed it Earth's resilience, how life had continued despite disasters and setbacks. Jupiter's atmosphere began to swirl with new patterns, as the gravity manipulations affected its massive form. The gas giant's clouds formed shapes never seen before, reflecting the ongoing conversation between humanity and the cosmic entity. The strain on the mankind ship became too great. Systems failed throughout the vessel as it pushed beyond what even its evolved form could handle. "We can't maintain this much longer," Linda reported. "The ship is dying." Davis nodded. "It's enough. We've shown it the way." He looked at his remaining crew. "It's been an honor serving with you all." The ship pulsed one final time, a burst of energy that carried their message across the void. Then its lights dimmed as critical systems failed. On Earth, Amy Collins opened her eyes. "They did it," she said softly. "They taught it something new." The screens showed Jupiter's strange new appearance, its clouds now swirling in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. The darkness that had been approaching halted completely, then began to change. It no longer seemed to consume everything in its path but interacted with space in a new way. 3 days later, the first reports came in from deep space observatories. The Devourer had altered its course. It was moving away from the solar system, leaving Jupiter untouched. But the cost had been high. The mankind ship had gone silent. No signals came from Captain Davis or his brave crew. They were presumed lost. Earth celebrated its salvation while mourning those who had sacrificed themselves. The enhanced crew members who had returned to Earth became teachers, sharing their knowledge to help humanity prepare for future threats. The world changed rapidly. With luminary technology now understood, humans began to explore the stars again, this time with better protections. The enhancements that had saved the Mankin crew became available to those who wanted them, creating a new branch of humanity that could thrive in the harshest environments of space. 3 years later, Amy Collins stood in the observatory at Johnson Space Center. Now 15, she had dedicated herself to studying the stars and the strange phenomenon that had once been Jupiter. The gas giant had transformed completely. It now glowed with an inner light, neither planet nor star but something new. Scientists were still debating what exactly it had become. "There's someone in there," Amy said to Dr. Martinez, who had become her mentor. "I can feel them sometimes in my dreams." Martinez looked at her curiously. "Who?" "Captain Davis. The others. They're not gone." Amy smiled. "They're still teaching. The Devourer, showing it how to create instead of consume. And someday they'll come back to show us what they've learned." In the vastness of space, the entity that had once been called the Devourer moved with new purpose. Within its changing form, the consciousness of Captain Davis and his crew continued their work, guiding it toward something it had never known before. creation instead of destruction, renewal instead of consumption. The transformation of the mankind and its crew had not been a random event. It was the universe's way of evolving a solution to a crisis that had existed for eons. Humanity had not just saved itself. It had changed the nature of a cosmic force, proving that even the most destructive powers could learn a new way. And somewhere in the stars, new life was beginning, born from the unlikely union of human determination and cosmic power.